Forest faithful, we need to talk about what happened at the City Ground, and trust me, you're not going to like what you're about to hear. Our Reds threw away a commanding 2-0 lead against Swansea City in the most heartbreaking fashion possible, and now there's serious finger-pointing going on behind the scenes. Gabby Agbonlahor has come out swinging with some brutal accusations about which players let Ange Postecoglou down when it mattered most. We're talking about substitute drama, reported dressing room confrontations, and a cup exit that nobody saw coming. If you're a true Forest fan, you need to hear every single detail of this story, because it could define how we see this squad moving forward. Hit that like button right now, smash subscribe, and stick around, because what Agbonlahor said about our substitutes will shock you to your core. Right, Forest fans, let's dive deep into what was one of the most devastating nights at the City Ground in recent memory. Picture this, we're cruising at 2-0 up against Swansea City, our faithful are dreaming of cup progression, and everything seemed to be going perfectly under Ange Postecoglou's new regime. Igor Jesus had bagged himself a brilliant brace, Dilane Bakwa was tearing down the flanks like a man possessed, and the City Ground was absolutely buzzing with that electric atmosphere we all know and love. But then, Forest fans, everything went horribly, catastrophically wrong. What happened next was nothing short of a footballing nightmare. 3 goals in the second half from the Jacks, including 2 goals after the bloody 90th minute. Can you believe it? 2 goals in stoppage time. This isn't just a defeat, this is a complete and utter capitulation that's left our manager reportedly shouting his head off in the dressing room afterwards. And honestly, who can blame him? Forest fans, what's your take on this collapse? Have you ever seen anything like this at the City Ground? Drop your thoughts in the comments because we're reading every single one. But here's where it gets really interesting, and where Gabby Agbonlahor has stirred up a proper storm. The former Aston Villa striker hasn't held back, and he's pointing the finger directly at our substitutes. On TalkSport, Agbonlahor delivered a verdict that's got everyone talking. When the players had done a great job to go 2-0 up and the substitutes came on, I'm not sure if they were unhappy about not starting, but they didn't follow the manager's instructions and let him down. Let that sink in for a moment. He's essentially saying that our bench players, the very players who should be coming on to close out games and prove their worth, actually undermined Ange Postecoglou's tactical plans. We're talking about players like Arnaud Kalimwendo, Morgan Gibbs-White, Callum Hudson-Odoi, and Ibrahima Sangare. These aren't just any players. These are supposed to be our quality depth. The timing of these substitutions was crucial. Ange had made the decision to take off the likes of Dilane Bakwa, Igor Jesus, and Douglas Luiz, 3 players who had been absolutely instrumental in building that commanding lead. But when their replacements stepped onto that pitch, something went fundamentally wrong. The intensity dropped, the concentration wavered, and suddenly Swansea smelled blood in the water. Do you think Agbonlahor is being too harsh on our substitutes, or is he spot on? Let us know your honest opinion below. Now, I've got to be fair here, not every substitute let us down. Jai Acuna, our Brazilian centre-back, actually emerged as one of the few bright sparks from this disaster. The lad came on and showed exactly the kind of commitment and quality that Ange will be demanding from every single player in that squad. Cunha's performance was so impressive that he's genuinely given Postecoglou a selection headache going forward, and that's exactly the kind of problem a manager wants to have. But let's talk about what this defeat really means for our season and for Ange's ambitious plans. The Australian came to the City Ground with dreams of delivering silverware to the Forest faithful. The Carabao Cup represented a genuine opportunity, a realistic pathway to ending our trophy drought, and giving this incredible fan base something to celebrate. Now that dream has been shattered by what can only be described as a catastrophic lack of game management and mental fortitude. The most damning aspect of this whole situation, Ange was reportedly heard shouting in the dressing room after the match. Think about that for a second. Our new manager, who's supposed to be the calm, collected leader steering this ship, was so frustrated by what he witnessed that he couldn't contain his emotions. That tells you everything you need to know about how badly this defeat has hit him, and how unacceptable he found the performance levels from certain players. Have you ever seen Forest throw away a lead like this before? Share your most painful Forest memories in the comments. Misery loves company, right? But here's what's really got me thinking about this whole situation. Gabby Agbonlahor made another crucial point that every Forest fan needs to consider. He said we need to give Ange a break because he's still trying to work out his best team from the massive squad we've assembled. And you know what? He's absolutely right. We've got so many players at this club right now that figuring out the perfect starting 11 is like solving an incredibly complex puzzle. This Carabao Cup match against Swansea was supposed to be exactly that. A chance for Ange to see his fringe players in action and determine who deserves a place in his preferred lineup. 10 changes from the Arsenal match meant we got to see a completely different Forest team, and while some players like Bakwa and Jesus absolutely grabbed their opportunity with both hands, others clearly failed to make their case. The beauty of having such squad depth is that it gives you options and flexibility. The nightmare is when some of those options don't deliver when called upon. What we witnessed against Swansea was the dark side of having a bloated squad, players who might not be fully committed to the collective cause, who might be more focused on their individual grievances than the team's success. What do you think should happen to the players who let us down? Should Ange be ruthless and ship them out, or give them another chance? Your thoughts matter. Looking ahead to our clash with Burnley, this defeat has created both problems and opportunities for Postecoglou. The problem is obvious. Trust has been broken, and he now knows he can't rely on certain players in crucial moments. But the opportunity is equally clear. He's identified which players are truly committed to his vision and which ones are just going through the motions. Players like Dilane Bakwa, who continues to impress every time he pulls on the Forest shirt, Igor Jesus with his brilliant brace, and Jair Cunha with his commanding defensive display, Ange'S. These are the players who deserve to be rewarded with more opportunities. They've shown they understand what it means to play for this badge and represent this incredible fanbase. The contrast between these committed performers and the substitutes who allegedly failed to follow instructions couldn't be starker. It's created a clear divide in the squad, and how Ange handles this situation will define his early tenure at the City Ground. Forest fans, we've been through worse than this. We've seen relegations, promotions, miracle escapes, and European nights that dreams are made of. One cup defeat, no matter how painful, isn't going to define this season or this manager. But it has exposed some uncomfortable truths about certain players in our squad, and those truths need to be addressed quickly and decisively. What matters now is how we respond, how Ange uses this setback as motivation, how the players who let us down redeem themselves, and how we, as the most passionate fan base in football, continue to support our team through thick and thin. That's all for today's update, but this story is far from over. Keep your eyes peeled for team news ahead of the Burnley match because I have a feeling we're going to see some significant changes. If this video opened your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes at Forest, smash that like button, subscribe for more insider updates, and let us know in the comments which players you think deserve to start against Burnley. Until next time, keep the faith, Forest fans. We'll rise again.